All right, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. We are back with another interview for motorcycle instructors. We're back with Elliott, who is a California motorcycle safety instructor, CMSP program. So 10 questions. Thank you so much for being on the channel.
Sure.
I really appreciate it, and thank you for answering these questions. So moving deep into it. First question, why did you want to become a motorcycle safety instructor?
At the time, I wasn't really thinking about safety. I mean, obviously safety is important.
Your own safety? Or helping others become
No.
more safe?
I was definitely thinking, yeah, the reason I got trained is so I didn't kill myself. I wasn't even thinking about getting licensed at the time. But when I was like, maybe I'll become a motorcycle instructor, it was more about, I just didn't like my job.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder what it would be like to teach people how to ride motorcycles. It was like that. Just get paid to teach people to ride.
Okay. Question 2. When did you become a motorcycle safety instructor?
About 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have gone back to almost when Total Control got the initial...
Yeah, actually...
You were one of the first.
Yeah,
that was
I was...
okay. 2015?
So basically...
5, 6 years ago.
So I did my training as a student to get my license in Ride Right in Van Nuys. And when I did that, that was the last class that they were offering of the old curriculum before transitioning to Total Control.
Okay.
So I did that. A year after that, I became an instructor.
So you rode for a year and got experience and got some miles under your belt.
Yeah.
Prior to, you can't just become an instructor as a newbie motorcyclist. They recommend, I think, 12,000 miles and several years of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So it was a year. It was basically a year after they had that.
You got your
after
motorcycle
they,
license.
or I should say a year after they had the contract.
Okay, understood. Where did you do your training?
Oh, my instructor training.
Yeah, your instructor training.
In San Bernardino.
Okay.
At SoCal, that location.
Did you have anybody famous within the program training you? Was it Mr. Lee Parks himself was one of the instructors back then? Or
No.
Dave Bianco, maybe?
Yeah, no. I had Dave Byer and Axe.
Okay.
And I really, especially, Dave Byer was great, but Axe especially because he was an expert in that curriculum, before it came to California.
Right.
It was almost being like straight from the horse's mouth. So it was a very positive experience.
Right.
It was probably like the best educational experience I ever had.
Awesome. Since becoming an instructor, this is question 4. Since becoming an instructor, how often do you teach and where?
This has been a pretty busy year, and the year before was pretty busy as well. I'd say I teach about on average throughout the whole year, because it's seasonal and it's kind of rocky. But I'd say at least 30 hours a week. And my primary site is Ride Right in Van Nuys, where I got my license. Yeah.
How does 30 hours a week translate to ranges?
Well, that includes classroom as well.
Okay.
I just looked at the
you do a lot more hours.
I know. I was like, I don't.
So a 40-hour week is Monday to Friday, 8 till 5, and
I probably do more.
Yeah.
I probably do more because I didn't want to do the whole math. It's
okay.
Because it's not consistent throughout the year. But I went to the database and I said, okay, last year, how many classes that I did, which includes classroom and range. And then I was like, okay, well, how much does each of those add up? Kind of did the math. But it's all assuming that I've done equal parts range and classroom. And I think I must do more range than classroom. I'm sure that I do. So it might be 40 hours a week or more. Probably, But there are days where there's 5 days where I'm not working at all.
Right. And other weeks you're doing 6, 7 days straight.
And then there's, or 20 days straight.
20 days straight.
Yeah.
Working every day.
or more. I think the longest I've gone is like 25 days straight.
Every day for 25 days. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Early mornings and and which ranges do you predominantly work at?
Ride Right in Van Nuys, Motorcycle Rider Education in Simi Valley, Westside Motorcycle Academy in Inglewood, Top Gun, where we
Top
are
Gun
now.
here in Santa Clarita.
I was like, I know we're forgetting something.
We are forgetting something.
Top
yeah.
Gun in Santa Clarita.
Yep.
But I've worked at over a dozen sites
Right.
throughout Southern California.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite site?
Ride Right in Van Nuys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're your sponsor site, are they?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. A good variety of bikes. A very close second would be MRE in Simi Valley.
Cool.
Yeah.
Question 5. What do you like most about being an instructor?
Getting paid.
You're just doing it for the money? That's it?
I didn't say that.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
I didn't say that. There's other ways to make better money.
Yeah. So, what do you like most about it? If that's your answer, that's your answer. That's cool. But
Well, do you know that book, 7 Habits of
yes.
Very Effective People?
Yes.
So the first rule there is be proactive.
Right.
I'm kind of where I am because I'm not very proactive. In the meaning that, like, I'm trying to change, but this is kind of where I found myself.
Okay.
Sort of a thing. And it's not terrible enough. It's not terrible at all, but it's not bad where I feel like I need to leave.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy it. It pays well compared to what I've been paid before with other jobs. I enjoy it. You know what I mean? So
You still like riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's your primary
Yeah.
form of transportation.
and I get to work outside.
Right.
There's enough challenges. There's enough room for me to get creative, different ways. So my favorite thing, I would say, it's really gratifying when you see a student where that light bulb comes on for things like, for example, counter steering. Like you can see the moment where a student, it goes ding, and they're like, ha ha, it's really, really cool to see that.
I had that today with a private student that we kept dragging his pipes and pegs going through road speed turns, and I helped him get into the correct body position and get off the side of the bike, kissing the mirror, and he went through the same corner at the same speed with so much more suspension clearance,
Okay.
didn't drag his pegs and pipes, and there was a light bulb moment when he pulled over and was like, now I understand. Now I understand. He was on this Harley Street 500, which is obviously a cruiser.
Yeah.
And again, I felt that moment of like, thank you for understanding, and then the light bulb came on with the student, and it's exciting as an instructor to have that moment. It's very gratifying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's
Applying the knowledge that you've given them, and then they do it, and they are excited by that. Cool. All right, well, the flip side of that is question number 6. What do you dislike most about being an instructor?
when students get hurt, definitely, hands down. That's just not fun.
Dealing with the the angst, the pain, the paperwork, the red and blue flashing lights of the ambulance.
Yeah. I mean, even that stuff is not really a problem. It's just to see them get hurt. Like, I don't mind calling the ambulance and filling out paperwork. Unto itself.
Cue. And that was not a special effect. That was an ambulance going by. Perfect timing.
Serendipity.
Yeah. Question number 7. What is your favorite exercise to teach in the CMSP training program?
Probably 19, which is the swerving exercise.
Okay.
Because there is I was watching Ophir's video, and he mentioned that he prefers exercise 11, pushing to initiate lean, where we deliberately introduce counter steering, not explicitly, but deliberately. Like, that's what we're doing, but we don't tell them that necessarily. But oftentimes students don't really get it on that one. But with the swerving, it's undeniably counter steering.
Yeah.
And they're doing it or they're not. And where I see students really get it is during that exercise, where they're like, aha,
this is what it feels like
yeah,
to steer.
and it's so efficient
Right.
and precise, and so I think that's the one that I like the most.
All right, well, you've got a lot of experience training in a lot of different ranges. You've trained thousands and thousands of students over the years. You do work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, what's the best motorcycle to train a new student on? And I will preface that by saying, here's $5,000 cash. I want you to go out and buy a student training bike.
Could I design a training bike?
No, something that's available on the market to buy. What bike would you get for $5 or $6 grand? And that be your training bike based on all the knowledge. What's the best training bike?
Probably the Van.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Go Van!
Yeah.
That's why I bought mine.
Didn't you buy it because I recommended it?
It was one of the. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. You said you should check that out.
Yeah.
And then in my other interview questions with other instructors and experience training on different ranges and using different bikes, I just fell in love with it as a training bike.
Yeah.
It's just it's Switzerland. It's politically neutral. It just does everything really well.
Neutral's a good word for it.
Yeah, it's not too powerful, it's not too big, it's just easy to stear. Anyway,
it's got a silky clutch.
It's got a silky clutch. It's
and
got a smooth
and
throttle.
for training sites, you want fuel injected. Because one thing that's really frustrating to students, and therefore frustrating to me as an instructor, is when you have these carbureted bikes that just won't behave.
Yeah.
And
they're tough to idle.
Yeah, and the irony
they're
is,
not smooth.
the irony is a close second would be the Kawasaki Eliminator 125. I like that training bike. It's the engine is, like you said, it's not very powerful. It's really smooth, but man, it's just the fueling is just terrible, and I'm really torn. So the 120, the Eliminator 125 is something worth looking into. Okay. Yeah, if they would put that, make that fuel injected, put it in a Rebel 250 chassis, that would be like a good bike for shorter riders.
Do you like the new 300 Rebel?
It's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, it looks cool.
It does look cool.
But when you ride it, well, okay. Does that look right?
No, it does not.
That doesn't look right.
That's
the Rebel 300 for you.
Yeah, it's
the
handlebars are all wrong.
All right.
For a training bike, you're right, absolutely.
And that the fat front wheel, that tire in the front.
Right.
The handling is just weird. They took a step backwards on that one, as far as I'm concerned. But it does look cool.
Alrighty. Question number 9. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you while instructing a class? That you witnessed or directly involved in?
Well, if you look behind me, you'll see these giant concrete pillars.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see those.
Yeah, there's one right here. There are several over there. There's lots of concrete pillars.
So, aside from students getting hurt, which is obviously not fun, when I see students just heading right for these things, it's just really scary. Yeah.
I was working with you one weekend and I witnessed we were doing the quick stops and we had a braking incident where he lost control of the bike, held onto it cartwheeled.
Oh, yeah.
Then the bike went upright and was heading straight at you without a rider on it, and you just sort of...
Oh no, that was a swerve exercise.
That was the swerve exercise?
But they were braking in the while swerving.
They braked in the swerve.
Yeah, so they were swerving to the right, they grabbed the brake, and then it started just like somersaulting.
The bike somersaulted, and you just calmly stepped back about 3 feet. Quickly, you did skip backwards, but yeah, it was quite impressive. I was like, wow. He must see this a lot because his bike was heading straight for you.
Yeah, that wasn't scary.
It wasn't scary.
No.
Okay.
I was like, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. Do you have any advice for anybody thinking of becoming an instructor?
A new instructor candidate.
Don't do it. You're taking my job away from me.
Well, the program needs good instructors, and the program needs new instructors.
That's true. The world needs instructors.
The attrition rate is actually very high within the program. A lot of instructors drop out because it is hard work.
I don't think it's hard.
Okay. So
But yeah, I can
what
see
advice
that.
would you give someone who wants to become a new instructor?
Well, I guess there's two sides to that. There's doing your training as an instructor training, and then just being an instructor. For your training, over prepare,
Shadow a lot.
shadow a lot, practice your class, get familiar with the classroom content. I think that's one thing that catches people off guard. Is there's a lot of content in the classroom, and get familiar with that. You know, obviously you have to be comfortable with public speaking. You need to be comfortable with the materials and practice the classroom stuff.
Right.
Shadow a lot, just over prepare, because you'll probably get, even if you under prepare, you'll probably get through the training, but it just won't be fun. When I did it, I over prepared, and it was a blast. I had so much fun, and I think that's the better way to do it.
Right.
As far as being an instructor, I guess if you're working a lot, make sure prioritize your sleep. Try to figure out. I'm learning to do that because like sometimes I work so much that like it affects my mood, and I have to remind myself to not be a jerk.
Mr. Cranky Pants.
I know. Be patient. Be patient. If you're not the patient type of person, please don't be an instructor, because other instructors have to work with you. You know.
I've worked with some instructors that get very frustrated with the students when they don't perform or listen to what we're asking them to do, and it's crazy because it's hard learning something new.
Yeah.
It's hard learning to ride a motorcycle if you've never been on a bike before.
Yeah.
And the course moves at a very quick pace.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult for students to keep up with the group and the class, and they get frustrated. And, if you as the instructor are getting frustrated, it's that knock-on effect of.
It's
not good.
counterproductive.
Counterproductive.
Totally. Never mind bad customer service.
Yeah.
You just I think that would be it. Is just this would be
Sleep
it.
a lot and be very patient.
This is it. Set the proper conditions
Right.
for a learning environment and an instructing situation that is conducive to learning and customer service. So be patient. Remind yourself that, like you said, these are beginners. Prepare to repeat what you just said 5 times, and 5 different ways. And saying it each time as if you've never said it before. Really be patient, be like Zen.
Yeah.
Because it can test your patience, for sure.
Cool. All right, dude. Thank you so much for being on 10 Questions for an Instructor. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Ride safely.
All right.